live in the same realm.
Yeah.
Who came up with these things? That's an important thing to know, too.
Who comes up with who comes up with any of it? Who comes up with any of it? Labeling in itself. Why? You like to do X,
and see, maybe that's the thing, too.
That is a thing.
Exactly, but why does anything have to be labeled?
I think it's labeled for communication, right? So that I can effectively communicate for you, to you, not for you, to you, that this is what I do, right? That's, at least from the science brain, that's where I'm thinking that labels come from. But when you label something and then you stick people in this bubble where you cannot move, that's the part that I don't like. It's like, okay, if you are going to be, we're going on a tangent. Skip that shit.
It's another Unpacking the Bag with Candace and Mikkel. Episode 2, and it's titled Spare the Rod, Spoil the Child. And we're talking about good old parenting. Yes, all of these moms, go ahead and tune in. Dads, you can tune in. Grandma, grandpa. If you got a kid, even if you're an auntie or an uncle, tune in. If you don't even have a kid yet, go ahead, tune in, because we're going to be talking about parenting as a collective, the types of parenting, who we are as parents, and most importantly, why you should take care of yourself, because these kids will run you ragged, and you got to make sure that you're looking out for you first, because if you don't, everybody gonna suffer, and we definitely don't want that. So, yes, parenting.
Spare the rod, spoil the child. That's what we're talking about today. Being a parent is unique to every individual person, right? But so many times, especially for me, when I first told the first person I was pregnant, which I believe was my mom, it was a lot of opinions that started being inserted, right? Don't do this, don't do that. You got to do this, you got to do that. And honestly, I just kind of chose what works for me. But that's not everybody. Everybody is not going to choose what works best for them. A lot of times people can be heavily influenced by other people's decision, how they were raised. But today we're going to talk about what those different parenting styles are, and you can kind of see where you fit in so you're informed, or you can be like Candace and myself and kind of be like, my parenting style switches up. So, Candace, get into those 4 different types of parenting styles. What we got, girl? I know you did your research.
I did do my research because I did not realize that there were specific parenting styles. I thought it was just like, oh yeah, you a soft parent. Or, oh, you very like strict. And I thought those are really like the 2 types, but there are actually 4 of them, right? So the first one is neglectful. And those are basically the folks that be like, oh, it is what it is. Go ahead. I don't really care. Do you, boo? So those are the people who live in the world of, they give their kids little to no guidance. Basically, their kids are just the ones that's like a free-for-all. Neglectful. Then we have the complete opposite, who are authoritarians. The authoritarians who are like, boom, 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 drill sergeant, do what I say. You got to do it now. I don't care what you say, what you feel, what I say goes. We have those type of parents. We all know somebody that's like that.
Oh, yeah.
We have the permissive parent who are more child-driven. So they're not neglectful. They're very much involved in their kids' lives, but the kid rules. So whatever the kid says goes. And it's more so, I'm going to give you extra care, extra love, but at the same time, I'm going to just do what you say because you're my child and I love you. So they overindulge the child, which is never a good thing, I don't think, but it works for those who it works for. And then lastly, we have the authoritative parent, who's kind of a collective of all. So they problem solve with their kid. So the kid has a voice, the parent has a voice, so everyone is heard. They also set clear expectations and boundaries, and we both are going to respect that. So that's the authoritative parent, because there's open communication, but also natural consequences. So if you don't see through with those expectations, obviously a consequence is going to follow, but you know why? Because we told you, we discussed it. So yeah, it's a lot. I didn't realize that I had to do a whole book research, a whole essay or whatever when researching this. But
Man.
it's very incisive of knowing these type of parenting styles.
And as you were talking about each of those parenting styles, I started thinking about like, dang, I keep like, oh, I do that, I do that, I do that. And so I do a little bit of all of that. I do all four parenting styles. So if I had to identify myself most though, I definitely would say that I was more authoritative. We go over like, hey, you want to do this, Dora? You want to do this? You want to get these options? Make a choice, right? But I am sometimes, a little neglectful. Like, you don't just go in there and sit down. Like, I mean, peace be with you. So I do think that it's important to mention that your parenting style can change. You don't stay in one role, especially, parents. My parents are still parents, right? Like my mama is still my mama. Is it considered neglectful because she like go live your life, go live your best life? You're an adult now, or is it just what it is? Like you have moved on to live your life. Where you stand at, Candace? What do you
I think no, to follow up in terms of what you were saying about your mom, I think it's just different seasons and then also just the particular situation. So like now that we're adults, obviously our parents can be more neglectful because the rearing end of parenting is done. Like we're essentially adults. They taught us all that we need to know, and now it's just basically up to life and experiences to teach us everything else or whatever, especially now that we're parents on our own. But in terms of myself and how I parent, I would say I'm a collection of all, but it depends on the situation that we're in. So I know I'm very neglectful during the time when I'm in my like peaceful Zen space. It's all about me at that moment. So yes, sir, you are free to do whatever because mommy is focused on herself right now. But before I am neglectful, I've made sure that all the necessary parameters are in order so that he's not going to injure himself or put himself in any kind of danger. Now, when it comes to like being authoritative and like you got to do what I say, when we're out in public and it's a lot of people around, listen, there's no room for error. I can't risk you being snatched by somebody. So if I say hold my hand, you hold in my hand. If I say come on, because I sense danger, let's go. Don't question me about it. We can talk about it in the car. But then in terms of the day-to-day, I believe that it is very much an authoritarian perspective that I have because I am very open in communication. Like, I want to get your opinion. Granted, now, my child is 1 year old, so it's not a whole lot of communication that we're doing, but nonetheless, I can sense what it is that he wants to do. So therefore, I can kind of move along at his speed because it's something that he's interested in. So if he has an interest, I can kind of take that and that be the guide in terms of what we're doing. So I believe that I'm a collection of all of them. But again, it just depends on the situation.
Okay. And as I was listening to you, you said authoritarian was parent driven and authoritative was solve problems with the kids. But I want to make sure the viewers know that on your day-to-day basis, you are more so solving problems with Grayson. I am about solving problems with Zora, and
Correction. I am not an authoritarian parent day to day. I am an authoritarian parent when we are out and about in large crowds with a lot of people. So you may find me in Walmart and saying, let's go. No questions asked, because it's important for him to understand, like right now, mommy cannot have the situation where it's a lot of confusion going on and losing you. So that's a no-go for me.
When you were describing those different parenting styles, you coined that term soft parent. And I don't say coin like you made it up because it's not your label, but that's a term that is used a lot, soft parenting. And I think because of the way that it sounds, people deter away from indulging in what it means to be a soft parent. When ideally, a soft parent is the same thing as an authoritative parent, in that we seek to understand our kids, we communicate with them, give them options, because my family would coin me as a soft parent, and the first thing they'll be like is, wouldn't have thought you would have been a soft parent because of how I was raised and how I was, my personality. They would have thought I was completely opposite, right? Authoritarian is more so what they would have coined me. But I want our audience to know that just because something sounds like is the opposite of what you want, like, oh, you a soft parent, you a softie, right? Doesn't mean that you should not indulge in understanding what it means. So don't shy away from labels, because on the outside that labels looks like, that is not me. Because actually it may exactly be you, and you can get the resources to help grow your knowledge and your community so that you can continue to raise your child the way that you want and not necessarily neglect yourself.
With being a parent, obviously, it's a very high strong job, like in day-to-day life, is that I do take a lot of like personal time to myself because I am an introvert. So it takes a lot for me to like recharge and want to deal with people again, so to say. So like early in the mornings, I do meditation and yoga. And I find that with Grayson, he is involved with it, but also it's a time where he can kind of just be, so to say, right? And it's also kind of teaching him how to take time for his self-care and for himself as well. There's a young lady on TikTok that is really insightful in terms of her parenting. Joining your local community and getting involved with those mom groups. Also, Facebook are really good resources.
I don't do support groups. I cannot find myself sitting in a support group effectively. And that's only because every time I join one, all I hear is people ranting and saying, don't do this, don't do that. And I don't identify well with that. Like, don't put no restrictions on me. Just because I say that I want more information on this topic, that don't tell me I should not be doing something. It's like, maybe, oh, this is my opinion. I would do it this way. Give me a suggestion, but don't give me those limits. But after you identify your parenting style, is definitely a lot of information out there that you can seek and see if support groups work for you. Also have our own problems that we need to solve. But what does work for everybody, like Candace was segueing us into, is self-care. Self-care is for everyone, regardless of your parenting style, regardless of who you are, whether you are a parent or not. Self-care is essential. And my biggest way of getting self-care in since I've had Amara, she is 5 months, is making sure I get my nice, long, luxurious shower. I love taking showers. I'm not a bath person because that's a whole nother thing. Mentally, stimulation, I just don't like baths. However, I do like to get in the shower with my eucalyptus leaves and, just sit there and think. And that's important, regardless if Amara is crying or if, maybe she's not crying, but she is awake and I put her in her bouncer and she's safe. I do get in the shower and I enjoy my shower because that's a moment that I enjoy. And self-care to me, because people again will like to say don't do this or don't do that, but self-care to me is doing something that I want to do, that I enjoy doing, and that I plan to do. So I'm doing it with intention, not just, I happen to be able to sit down and get a bite to eat. That's not your self-care, baby. That was not intentional. That was on accident. Kudos to you for getting that bite.
I love how you say being intentional, because being intentional is so important. Like, yeah, we're in the rat race of day-to-day life, and what we think we're doing is self-care, is us just taking care of our essential needs to make sure that we're surviving, but being intentional behind it and really setting that time for yourself to really do what you need to do to make sure you're recharged and that you're good. So I find that being intentional is very much important in terms of being a parent. So I know for me, I have a hella busy schedule. I work a 9 to 5. I have my business. I have Grayson. I have other obligations. This podcast also being one of them. So it's I have a schedule that I adhere to, right? But one thing that I'm very much in tune with is making sure that I have a block of time for myself every day where it's just Candace time. I don't really care what's going on, but it's important that I just have Candace time because I can be a real bitch. A real big one.
I mean, and we all can. And
it's important that I'm
that's
not...
why recharging is important.
Very important. So, yeah, if you don't do that, be very much intentional for the next week in terms of figuring out a time that works for you where it's just you. No distractions, no kids, no husband, no wife, no cell phone, no TV, no computer, where it's just you dealing with you.
And I mean, if you find that difficult, for me, it was difficult to start. A lot of people think, hey, I like to do this, but sometimes you don't know what you like to do. So maybe just start with your list first. And then once you start with your list of the things that you like to do, then get into that space of, hey, I'm going to set aside 5 minutes tomorrow so that I can read however much. I'm going to say 2 pages because in 5 minutes, I probably read 2 pages. I'm going to read 5 minutes of this book that I've been wanting to get into. So thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Unpacking the Bag, where today we talked about Spare the Rod, Spoil the Child, and we got into all of the, terms for these parenting styles that we have selected. We hope to see you on another episode. Today is November the 8th. I hope that you went out and you voted for your governor.
Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. I said it 3 times because I need you to go vote 4 times. Love y'all. Until the next time, we are unpacking the bag and unpacking our bullshit.
Peace.